what the academy is
I
now.
just got that, hearing report.
I bet it's around
Okay.
11 or 12.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is right about time, maybe a minute or so before, but we're going to go ahead and get our special board meeting called in order. Thank you all for being here. So roll call, let it be noted that all board members are here. Angie is with us virtually through Zoom. First thing on the agenda is we need to adopt the agenda. And I need someone to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
All right. Next, we need to review and approve Broadcastle County Schools hearing report. Okay, we have just completed the hearing, the public called hearing to review the Rockcastle County District Facilities Plan. In front of you, you have the hearing report that documents the speakers that came to the meeting, that spoke at that meeting. If anybody has any questions regarding the hearing report.
Looks good to me. I move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Angie? Okay.
Yes, I'm the second. Yes.
All right. So next, we need to review, approve the final district facilities plan. Mr. Clark, will you?
Yep, I'm gonna talk a little bit about that amendment and some of the numbers. Got a little PowerPoint to show you guys. Move that one. It's on my desktop. I'll open it on the clicker. Wait a minute. There we go. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So I put together this little PowerPoint, and I just want to say before we get started with it that building, that middle school building, is near and dear to my heart too. I went to school there. I thought I was in the last class, but I found out today I was in the next to last class. And that was an old person moment. I told Anna, and she thought I was calling her old, I believe. So anyway, we'll go ahead. So this graph, right, this bar graph right here shows the need in dollars currently for the middle school to be renovated. This work was done originally in 3D, and it was updated by Ross Torrent when we did the K-Fix assessments. We chose the middle school building to begin with because we knew that it was probably the greatest need that we had in the district. So it's had two sets of professional eyes that came up with this. This is the 10-year projection. You see at the bottom, you got interiors, mechanical, which would be your HVAC, the shell, which is the exterior of the building, the electrical's next. It's a pretty big chunk. Site work, equipment furnishings, and substructure, which is like footers and that type of thing. So you see on this 10-year projection that all the needs right now, everything has met KDE criteria to hit the need. Well, the next 10 years, we got very little. This next slide shows 20 years. We got very little still. Everything at the middle school now it's time. I mean, it's used up. You guys have any questions over that slide? There's probably gonna be a million. I'm ready to answer them. Anything y'all got? I mean, Mr. Hammond had asked for that information. I'm trying to go over and above, and also this corresponds with that 53-page assessment report. That's all in there. All that goes with this. It's all one thing. This just shows graphically what that does, broken down and drills down completely to the essence of every issue.
So, quick question: the other years, is that pertaining just to the middle school or the district in general?
This is just the middle school.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, just the middle school. The unmet need for the district's about 40 million according on that plan, and the middle school's 25 of it right now.
Mr. Clark, I may have some questions for you
Yes.
later on, but I'd rather talk to you in person about it.
Sure. Okay. Anytime. All right, next slide. This is something I dug up from the internet, and it is it is based on the USEIA report, which shows the energy rates in Kentucky. And we're a commercial building as a school. We're not industrial. So you can see over 20 years how that rate's changed. It's went up by 84.8% commercially in 20 years. You know, when you talk about building a building or renovating a building, you're on a 20-year bond. So that's a pretty good, it's a pretty good place to look. The projected rate at 2038, this was done in 2018, which is fairly new, but the projected rate at 2038 is 18 cents. That's double, almost double what we pay right now. That building, the middle school building, if you know, it's energy hog. I'm going to show that in the next slide. Any questions over that before I go ahead? Okay. All right, this is increasing by 3.1%, starting at $188,000. In 20 years, that's going to cost the district $5.272 million just for power. It's a lot of power.
Well, it is, and of course, if I could, a question which would be relative, Ms. Ballinger, you can answer it, whatever. And that is a part of my whole point. What, and I asked earlier, what's the plan for the middle school? If, you know, it's not about if we had the new middle school here, what are we going to do with that? That's going to be true if we still have that building and we're trying to use the gym. Right. Who's going to pay that? And in my opinion, I'm not seeing anything in the county. I mean, we could say, and I've heard this, so I'll say it before somebody going to rent part of it. Who's going to pay that bill? We're going to have that here after we build a new middle school, because until I hear, I mean, I could vote for a new middle school if I had something about the old middle school, but to have that dead expense even after we build a building, and that's the reason we're building a building, that's hard for most people to understand.
I think, and that's one reason that I wanted to show this. So if you go back to here, and you see the $25 million that it takes to renovate the middle school, and then you go here and you see how much energy that it takes to run the middle school, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a whole lot of money. Now there's a lot of different things that we could do, but if we don't make an amendment now, then we don't know if we have funding to proceed. We don't have $25 million in bonding to fix the middle school. I mean, we don't have it.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to come back to what I said though. I mean, I could consider it if we were, part of the plan was to raise that building, demolish that thing.
That's not been ruled out,
Well, I don't
correct?
think until we get money,
Yeah.
I don't think we've ruled anything out at this point. Until we get some funding, we can't say what we can do.
So with
I
your,
mean,
your last sentence, I've got a question. So,
Mhm.
you said we don't have the bonding potential for 25 million. So I think something that maybe the community and everybody needs, maybe we've not reiterated out is, if we do renovations, that's just money that we have to pay. There is no funding to help.
There's no emergency
With the
funding from the legislature.
renovations.
There's no other money.
Right.
Straight bonding.
It's straight bonding, straight from our district,
Yes,
correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
And the bonding potential is
Ms. Carey?
With the nickel tax, it's
19 million
with the nickel tax.
Yes.
Yes,
and the new facility is
30 million.
30 million.
But then we are hopeful, in addition to the 19 million, that the legislature will do the match, the equalization match.
And I understand that that's the hope.
But
And it could-
19 million
And it could
currently.
happen, no guarantee, but if it did happen, and we had 30 million, and the state gave us 10 and we max out bonding, we've still got that old building. That's my whole point. We've still
Yes.
got the old building, and it's still to be maintained. That's the reason I asked the age of the roof. You know, the thing, I think it was 2003 when the roof was put on
Yes.
last, plus these ongoing costs that are going to continue to go up. And we're over here in the new building, we're maintaining the new building, but we've still got this albatross around our neck.
Right, well, I don't think that there's any, and I don't mean to speak
No,
over
go
you,
ahead.
Trent,
You're
you
gonna
go
say
right
the exact
ahead.
same thing I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any plan, that any of us have a plan to keep that current middle school the way that it is in that structure. Ideally, what we would like to see is to tear that structure down and keep the gym. But we can't say absolutely that we are able to do that until we are able to have an architect go in, look at that structure, look at the energy usage of that gym to see if that's even a possibility, look at updating it to meet code, what is the cost to do that?
Mhm.
So we can't say that for certain until we get to the point of hiring an architect, having them analyze that cost to see if that's a possibility.
Sure.
But our hope and our goal would be to be able to tear that down around that,
Mhm.
keep that existing structure, because we do need a third gym in our district. I think it would be very beneficial for not only our athletic teams, but our archery teams and all of our middle school, high school, even elementary school, and our community to be able to use that facility. Is there a possibility of designing a breezeway where it connects to the new middle school? Those are all questions that we would have to continue to explore. But at this point, there is no plan to keep that entire structure in the state that it's in right now.
Well, we're talking about breezeway, the new structure, is the plan to build a new one on the site in front of it?
At this point, I don't think that we would have enough funding to be able to purchase land. If
I would
it's
agree.
$30 million
I would agree.
and we're
Mhm.
looking at
Mhm.
the cost of what our bonding potential is, and I
Mhm.
think we have to be realistic about, what can we afford? I know that there has been some interest in us purchasing land and building off-site, but, we have to stay within our means.
Right. And with that, and the nickel,
Mhm.
and part of my concern is the future of, if you go broke at home, compare it to your home, if you overextend yourself at home, and you have no leeway, and the leeway here would be to take care of the staff salaries,
Mhm.
other facility needs.
Mhm.
It's not just the facility itself, it's the future of the district. And I'm working in a district that has 3 nickels.
Mhm.
And the salaries for the staff in that district is the lowest in the region.
Mhm.
And today, that's really a challenge. We really were challenged this year to fill the vacancy. And I know that here, historically, because of where we're geographically located, and it's a good place, but where our geographical location with Eastern UK, Cumberland, Union, Campbellsville, we always had lots of applicants, and of course, even this year, we've encountered inadequate pool of staff here.
Mhm.
And when the district, and I've not compared the salaries to surrounding districts here, but if it gets to the point that Rockcastle is the lowest in the region, even people living within Rockcastle will no longer want to work here. Even though it's a good place, it's a prime location geographically, it's bigger than just the facility.
Mhm.
Trent, if I could just clarify real quick, just
Yeah.
for my sake.
Yeah.
Mr. Bray mentioned renovation, there's no equalization, no state money on a renovation. So we're 19 million bonding renovation, we would not get that, any equalization with the renovation. And part of the reason for the nickel tax was that
What
equalization.
I think, just to clarify, what Mr. Bray was stating is we would not be eligible for urgent needs funding.
Correct.
Because if the nickel tax, we would still be, either way, we could still be eligible for a match because we took the nickel tax, but we would not be eligible for urgent needs funding.
True. And with,
Repeat that, Terry, I could not hear you very good.
Yes, so what Mr. Bray spoke at the public hearing, he stated that if we did not do new construction, we would not be eligible for urgent needs funding as allocated through the legislature. The legislature does not give that money for renovation.
Well, did they tell us that before this process? I don't remember hearing them. I thought that it could also be
that's
used for
normal.
renovation.
Yeah, no, that's typical, that's the way that works, the urgent needs funding is for new construction.
Okay, well, I have just one comment. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't count the chickens before they hatch, okay? So, you know, we haven't got any money yet,
Correct.
so we have to approve this facilities plan tonight in order for us to even see if we're eligible, correct?
Exactly. So if we do not approve this tonight, then we are not eligible for that funding. So that's why it's so important that we approve this to be placed on the Kentucky Board of Education agenda in order to even see if we're eligible for the money. Correct.
So back to this slide right here, that big number up there, $5.2 million. With the new building, now there's an opportunity to be a net zero energy school. That number completely goes away. That takes a little bit of doing. I mean, it takes planning. It takes a special kind of building. You can't do it with a building with regular walls like the middle school has. It has to be insulated. But that opportunity is there, and that opportunity is not as expensive as it once was. Once upon a time, that was a huge number, like 10%. It's below 2 now of your total project cost. So, just to throw that in there. Square footage comparison. This was interesting. This also came out of a space planner, not something I created. So, NSF is net square footage. That's usable space that's occupied. Space not like a hallway, not like the stage at the middle school. So you're looking at, I gotta get to my figures here. I got numbers on here. Sorry about that.
Okay, while you're looking for that, I'm gonna say something about the nickel too. In addition to not knowing whether we get the urgent needs money, I would expect the nickel to be matched somewhere out there, but in recent times, it's not necessarily been the year that you do it.
Right, but there is, according to our financial advisor, everyone who has passed that nickel tax, every community that has passed that has received equalization. So it's not an event that has not happened in the past.
Right, it just doesn't, it's not necessarily happening immediately, the year that you do it. It may be may not get it all at one time. Yes, that's true. And of course, keep in mind too, this year there are several districts, because I talked to our financial advisor at a co-op meeting, and there are several districts and he told me how many that he was aware of that have done the nickel, so there'll be even, that makes it more competitive, or that's something else for the legislature to decide, can we afford to give all these folks the match or reduce it this amount, because there's a sizable number this year that did the nickel.
All we can do is try, I guess.
It also is about tit for tat, ain't it?
Yeah. So when you look at the gross square footage, that's the outside of the building, the outside walls. If you just drew a perimeter around the building and you did the math, that's what you get. Net square footage is like, that's actual places that you would have instruction, would have an administrative office, would have a gym, would have a library, that PTC. So the new construction, the gross square footage is 86,859 square feet. If you take 71%, which is what's done on both of those, which is the general number that they take, you end up with 61,670 square feet net for the new construction middle school. So looking over at the other one, it's 116,224 square feet. The current building, it's 82,519 feet net square footage in that building. The number on the right, now for comparison's sake, I put that number on the left at the same as the NSF. Well, we know that there's it's 66,009 is what the gray bar is, the occupied spaces inside the middle school currently. There's a lot of big area in that building, like you got 5,000 feet at the stage and those 2 rooms beside of it. I mean, there's a lot of area in that we heat and cool now that's not really being utilized. And I think that's an interesting comparison to make. The last slide I've got, it shows the middle school in comparison to Broadhead. Broadhead is, I gotta go to that place. Broadhead's 65,187 square feet gross, and the net is 46,283. So there's quite a bit of size difference between those two buildings. That's all I've got. Sorry that took so long. That was long-winded.
That was very helpful.
But I think we had a good conversation. I appreciate you all.
Thank you.
there's any more questions, I'd be glad to answer. If y'all look at that, assessment report, and you got questions over that, I'll talk to you about that. I know Miss Angie said she had some, so just hit me up and we'll talk.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Trent.
guys.
Thank you, Trent. And Trent, again, I'll tie it into your conversation because I may have about covered what I would mention. I did mention earlier in comparison, you know, you've got room, you got too much room, which is a nice problem to have. Think about too much room, and we're anticipating COVID going away, but think about smaller quarters, and you're trying to deal with COVID. Hopefully this is the last of such an issue for many years to come. But the cafeteria piece, and I think about the size of the cafeteria, and all of this is old, and all of the conversation is true. But when you go to a new facility, and I think about, I'll not name names, but some of the staff, when we went from the current middle school, which was the high school, to the new high school, and some of the staff, you know, just kick back and gonna go over and take my spot. Some of the specialty areas at that time, when they got into it, you know, when they got the thing too far down the road, it's not ample space. You know, look at what I had at the other school, and the extra space for everyone once you get into current specs for facilities. If the district doesn't encounter the same thing, which people will take whatever's there, if they want to work there and the kids want to come there and it's a nice looking building on that side, but the space piece won't be anywhere near that. And there's no room for expansion. If we're talking, again, I mentioned this up there, if we're looking at the population increasing here, whether it's the new, in which I seriously doubt that the middle school building will attract it. I mean, it's nice to have a new middle school building, but it's really the system itself. It's the community, it's the relationships, it's the services rendered, and it's the assessment results. It's good to have a new facility, but that's not what makes people happy, always. So going from large to small, you know, I just cannot hardly go along with that. And of course, you all know where I stand on it.
I guess I kind of look at it a little bit backwards. So if we're able to do this and include other aspects, like we talked about, maybe redoing the track, getting some other things done, and even if we just keep a portion of that old building. I've traveled everywhere in Kentucky playing ball with my kids, whether it be basketball, baseball, softball, and even our own surrounding counties. The facilities that are offered to the youth, Rochelle, you know, I know you've been everywhere I've been. The facilities offered to the youth, we don't have that here. We've got, I know we're educators, but if we can also use even a portion of that old facility to offer more to our county's youth, I just think it's a good idea. It's a great plan. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to lose families. Industry isn't going to grow at all if our families are leaving, because we all know, how many people do you all know travel outside of the county to work? So now they're taking their kids outside of the district as they go. We have to start growth.
I'm just gonna say too, our kids, they just deserve it. I mean, whether or not it's growing, I mean, how many kids are here? I mean, you know, it's a great building. I went there. My kids goes there now, but I mean, really the square footage of each classroom, is it equal? I assume it's not. Is it spread out like it should be for COVID now? I assume it's probably not. So I don't know that that's a valid argument. There's a lot of space in that middle school that is underutilized and it can't be used. You know what I mean?
Of course, with renovation too, and I would agree with part of what you're saying, but if you consider renovation, all of that's out. The partitions, the classrooms would be set up totally different.
I don't know if, I know he didn't get to finish the middle school. I would like to see more of those slides. And I think it, you know, space or not space, I'm not a construction person, but those pictures of the foundation, one thing, I know enough to know that when the foundation's off, like, I don't know if that's fixable or wisdom to, you know, so I think I would like to see more of
We
that.
can
And
ask Mr. Phillips, we
Mhm.
can ask him to come on the 9th at our
Yeah.
regular
Thank you.
board meeting
I think
to
that would be
finish
good.
doing
And
that.
I don't know if this is the meeting to do this, but to clarify, are we eligible for renovation? Through district's facility?
We could
Like-
renovate, yes,
Okay. But it would be not getting any matched funds,
no.
it would just be out of our pocket.
Straight district bond funds.
And we don't know that number is not what's reflected in the community as how much it would cost.
No, that
Just wanna
number that I
clarify
showed you,
that.
the 25 million number that's the real number.
That's the renovation.
That's a renovation, and you have
So
to
it's
add
not
20%
12
fringe
million
on
or
top of
10
that.
million,
It's
that's,
gonna cost $30 million,
So 25
what it'll
million
cost.
I just want
and the fringe.
plus
Said.
20% fringe, architect, engineer, bonding, all that.
and it will not be the size of, it'll be bigger, it'll be adequate based upon their numbers, their criteria for what we have at middle school numbers, population. That is a set thing we have to go by.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
just trying to clarify.
Yes.
If you go by that one slide, I mean, the space that's being used in the middle school is
Yes.
66,000 square
Yes.
feet, we're gonna have 60, almost 2.
Yeah.
So I mean,
And there's
it's-
nothing we can
that's
do
not
about
that
that.
much difference. It's,
And the cost of renovation is based
Okay.
off of this that's in your board
That's right,
packet.
thank you. I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who might be out there listening to us.
thank you.
Thanks, Trent.
And
I'm
then,
gonna,
one other thing, the costs that we have, of course, architects, and Trent, you know, we know that architects want to design a new building. I mean, that's their business. They're not interested in renovating an old structure. Because that's just not what they do. That's not their intent and purpose.
And how old is Roundstone Elementary?
52.
Somewhere around 60.
Yeah.
1958.
I was gonna say 58, 58.
So it's the only one we still have that's older than the middle school, and it is great. And I went
Roundstone's in good shape.
Great renovation. Okay.
It needs some work in the kitchen, other than that. If I didn't say that, Jamie probably cut me. Other than that, it's pretty good shape.
All right, I'm gonna pull us back in here. So I need someone to make a motion to approve the final district's facilities plan,
I'll make the motion.
and I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
No,
No, Mr. Hammond did not agree. All right, with that being said, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Yep.
Thanks, Angie.
Thank you.